I'm going to tell you about one of the dumbest decisions by a police chief I have ever come across and why I think it could potentially get cops killed. File this one under one of the dumbest stories I've ever read about a police chief's decision and why it's deadly and dangerous. What's going on here is in Bridgeport, Connecticut, the chief of police, a guy named Armando A.J. Perez, has barred police officers. Get ready for this. He's barred police officers from wearing any outer gear, jackets, vest covers, body armor covers, anything like that, that have the word police on them. Think about this for a second. On-duty police officers in the Bridgeport, Connecticut Police Department, under the direction of Armando A.J. Perez, Chief Perez, can no longer have police emblazoned on their gear. Now, not only is this politically correct, short-sighted idiocy just dumb, it's really, really dangerous. And a sergeant in the agency, a guy by the name of Chris Robinson, spoke up. When he spoke up, Chief Perez suspended him. Now, he claims he didn't suspend him for dissent. He suspended him for not following proper protocol. But let me tell you what Sergeant Robinson said. I'm going to tell you what Chief Perez said. And I'm going to tell you about my own personal experiences with this kind of thing. So Chief Perez writes in his memo, members of the service, which are officers, we recall that in NYPD as well, MOS, members of the service. Members of the service are reminded that any wearing of police on department uniforms other than road outerwear is prohibited. So what he's saying is the only time the word police is permitted on gear is if you're on the road. In other words, doing a car stop, directing traffic. That is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life, and we're going to get to why. Now, Sergeant Robinson wrote, and he was pretty fired up about it, a lot of exclamation points. Quote, "This order compromises everyone's safety. It is an order that can get an officer hurt or killed." He's 100% right. Even a new city councilman-elect, a guy named Marcus Brown, said, quote, "It does make me worry about his leadership." Speaking of Chief Perez, the police are there to protect and serve. People need to be able to ID who police officers are when outside of the vehicle. If they want to remove police from the jackets, what's next? From police cars? It doesn't make sense to me. Well, thank you, Councilman Brown. That's common sense, sir. You're 100% right. Now, the chief went on to say that officers are readily identifiable, quote, readily identifiable by their uniforms, badges, name tags, hats, and police patches. Well, I guess he doesn't have any plainclothes cops. He doesn't have any detectives. Of course he does. That's why this is so stupid. That is why this is so stupid. He is going to get plainclothes cops killed. Look, when you see something on the news about an emergency situation, a police response, and you see the men and women running in from all sides with windbreakers that say police or sheriff or federal agent or DEA or FBI, they don't wear those to look cool. They're wearing those to be identified because they're in street clothes or business attire. They're wearing those not only so that the public can identify them, but more importantly, so that other law enforcement officers seeing this person running toward them with a firearm in their hand can identify them as a good guy. It's one of the first things you're taught in the police academy. It doesn't matter if you ascend to the rank of chief. If you're out for dinner in plain clothes and a uniformed rookie cop with a week on the street gives you an order, you comply. You allow that police officer in uniform, the one who's readily identifiable, to control the situation. And once they do control it and they have your identification, then you engage in conversation. Then you settle the situation. This chief is an absolute moron. And we've seen what happens when plainclothes cops can't be identified. Back in the summer of 2016, a young cop, a young narcotics detective in Prince George's County, Maryland, a guy by the name of Ja'Kai Colson, was shot and killed by another police officer because he was misidentified. You probably remember the situation. Some lunatic who wanted to commit suicide by cop came to their headquarters building, the Prince George's County police headquarters building, started shooting up the building. Cops returned fire. At that moment, Detective Colson was arriving in an unmarked car, and he was supposedly an outstanding detective. I spoke to friends of his, and he was dressed like he should be, looking as much like a street guy as he could to fool drug dealers and gun runners into working with him. So he, being a cop, starts engaging the bad guy as well, but the cops in the building didn't recognize him. One of them shoots and kills Officer Colson. This can happen, Detective Colson, actually. This can happen. And it will happen with short-sighted, idiotic policies like these. And the sergeant goes on to say, Sergeant Robinson, who blew the whistle, he says, quote, and this happened to me, I myself have been drilled on the stand before in trials that they repeatedly asked me, well, is it possible that maybe they didn't know you were a police officer? I was in a few shooting incidents. In 2 of them, that's the exact question the defense attorney asked me when I was on the stand. The exact question in both instances. Defense attorneys said to me, well, is it possible he started firing because he thought you were other drug dealers coming to steal his drugs? No. How do you know that? Because we were wearing windbreakers that said NYPD police. And there went that tactic by the defense. In another instance, they said the same thing, and we said no. And the defense attorney said, why? And we said, well, we were sitting in a marked NYPD patrol car in uniform. There went that tactic by the defense. All right, this is critically important stuff. And this police chief is already under fire for a rising homicide rate. Community activists annoyed about what they consider police brutality, but I can't find any evidence of that. They're just annoyed that people in the minority areas are being arrested. So, of course, this guy is now cowering to political correctness. That's all this is about. This is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And cops around the country are chiming in on social media saying just how stupid and just how deadly this is. Now, the police union is stepping in. Hopefully, they're going to gain some ground here and shut this idiocy down. The cops are given a uniform. The chief, a uniform allowance. Now, the chief says, he claims, well, it's not in. Let me find what he said because it's so dumb. It defies logic. He says uniformity and discipline are necessary for the efficient operation of a police organization. We are an organization of rules and laws, and the rules must be adhered to. He claims that putting police on uniforms is not authorized. Think about that. Putting the word police on police uniforms is not authorized in current policy, which is established by the chief, the city's law department, and the police commission. And probably the reason it is not expressly stated is because it's common sense. Why would you say, well, oh, by the way, we have to make sure the word police is on the uniforms or the gear of police officers? It's people are so blown away. They're so incredulous that this guy is splitting these hairs at the expense of the lives of cops. This is exactly the problem with political correctness. When it starts creeping into institutions like police departments who are there to protect and serve. And a major way they do that is by being able to be identified by the public. Little kids who are lost run up to them because they see the word police. Old ladies being mugged see the word police. Other police officers see that windbreaker that says police and don't shoot their fellow law enforcement officers. Chiefs like this need to go. The age of Obama is gone. Now we have to do away with the age of political correctness. I want to keep bringing you this content, so help me do it. Please sign up for our premium service at www.therebel.media/shows. If you're already a subscriber, thanks very, very much. I'll be back with you tomorrow on Thanksgiving. Thanks for watching.